In this video tutorial, I will show how to send alerts, both email and text message, from an AppShine application based on streaming sensor data. This could be useful to monitor any kind of assets remotely. If the assets have sensors attached to them, we can get live conditions of the assets such as temperature, humidity, carbon dioxide, battery level, and other kinds of readings which are useful to monitor the health of the assets and also to take preventive actions if we see signs that the assets are deteriorating. Example, if we see high humidity, it could be a sign of corrosion because high moisture leads to corrosion, and if we see high humidity, then we can add treatments that slow down the corrosion or protect corrosion. So in this video tutorial, I'm going to show how to send text and email alerts based on streaming sensor data. Like I have generated dummy data. Let's assume I have 4 sensors over the years. I can have any number of sensors deployed over any part of the world. So for this tutorial, let's assume we have 4 sensors. Here shown here, the static values are the sensor IDs, and the dynamic values, the values that show on hover, are the latitude and longitude of the sensors. So what we want here is when the temperature reading from a sensor is like above some threshold value, we want to get an alert. Or if a sensor fails, the same thing, we want to get alerts to our email and also to our phones. So here, like this, I have 2 alerts, for example. This one says abnormal reading. So what it is saying is the sensor with this sensor ID has very high temperature, whereas this alert, what it is saying is the same sensor that had abnormal reading before has failed. So as you can see, this is to my email. Also I can get also to my phone number. As you can see here, to my phone number, I have got to my phone, I have got an alert that says abnormal reading. As you can see here is the sensor ID. Or I can, in the message part, I can include any kind of text that I want. So let's see how to do this in R, especially with a dynamic Shiny dashboard. First, let me delete this. Okay, so to do that, I have two parts of R code. The first one is this one, which generates data every 2 seconds. Let's say for the first 200 seconds, every 2 seconds it will generate temperature for all the sensors. So I have this latitude and longitude are the locations, geographic locations of the sensors. I have the sensor IDs here, and for the first 200 seconds, this code, it will generate temperature data for each sensor and save it in the Shiny folder. It can also be by the way, we can also use a database. If we are saving our dynamic data in a database, we can connect Shiny with the database. But for now, I'm just dumping the data files to my machine. So every time I'm generating temperature for the 4 sensors from a Gaussian distribution with mean 30 and standard deviation 1. But after 200 seconds, after this time, one of the sensors, let's assume one of the sensors fails. This one, I'm not generating temperature values for this one, so I'm just generating only for the first 3 sensors. So at this point, my code should send me an alert that one of the sensors has failed or is not reporting. The failure could be because its battery is dead or because of any other reason. But when the sensor is not sending data, then our application should alert us that one of the sensors is not working, so that this enables us to monitor the sensors remotely. The sensors help us to have an understanding of how the assets are working, and if any of the sensors fails, then we should be alerted so that we can replace it. So okay, so this is my as you can see, this is my Shiny project folder, and at this point there are no any data files, but if I run this, it will continuously be generating data. The second one, let me first explain the Shiny code before I start it. So in the Shiny part, I have the R code, the server, and the UI.R, the user interface parts. So in the R part, what I'm doing is first I read all the data files in my hard disk here, and from these data files I create a static leaflet map. By the way, I will upload this to the code to GitHub, and if you are interested, you can have a look. So here I am creating a static leaflet map that shows the locations, the geographic locations of the sensors. And one of the most important functions here is this one, this reactive poll. What it is doing is every 10 milliseconds it is checking this function. And what does this do? This function, it counts the number of files in my hard disk. So if the number of files in my hard disk increases, that means if there is a new data file that has arrived, then this function, the second function, will be executed. This function will be called. So this function, what it is doing is it is reading in all the data files, including the newly arrived data file as well. So after that, once it reads in all the data files, then I can do any kind of analysis on that. I have here in this plot, I'm creating a ggplot time series plot that shows the readings of each sensor. So this will create a dynamic line chart. And in this function, I am checking if any of the sensors have a temperature reading greater than 32. So if any sensor has a temperature reading greater than 32, I will save the ID of that sensor here, and this helps me to send an alert based on this function. If this function has some value, that means if it has sensors which have temperature reading greater than 32, then I will send alerts. And the second, this one, in this one also similarly, this one checks if any sensor has failed. Like it is checking the number of sensors it had previously and how many sensors it has now. So if the number of sensors it has now, the sensor IDs it has now is less than the number of sensors it had before, then it would send me an alert saying that this sensor with this sensor ID is not reporting, so that means it has failed. And the other two very important functions here are these observers. I have one observer here, and I will have also another observer below it. So in this observer, what I am doing is it is checking if this function which checks the if there are sensors with high temperature readings. It checks if there are sensors with high temperature readings, and if that is true, it sends an email. I'm using the MailR package, so it sends mail. As you can see here, I can specify anything. From is the sender. I'm using my Gmail for this tutorial, and we have recipients. The recipients, it can be phone numbers or email addresses. Then in the subject, I can include any kind of text that I want. I can also include attachments. So here I have sensor alert abnormal reading. if it is too high temperature. And in the body it says some text plus which sensors are having this problem. And when I include the phone numbers in the recipients, based on the carrier, the extension is slightly different. Like if it is AT&T, for example, I will put number at txt.att.net, and if it is from a Verizon carrier phone to a Verizon carrier mobile phone, then it should be like number at vtxt.com. So I have saved this in my credentials, and I am sourcing them here. Just I'm loading them here. So in this observer, if it gets sensors with very high temperature readings, then it would alert me both to my email address and also to my mobile phone. The second observer here is similar to the previous one, but it checks if there are sensors that have already failed. So this is the R code, basically the server.r, and the UI.r. I have it here. If you are interested, you can have a look at the code in my GitHub account. I will add a link to it in the comment section. So if we run this, of course, before we run this, we should have data coming in. So I have to first run the first script that continuously generates dummy data, which is this one. Okay, so let's source this. If you see now, it should be generating data and saving them to my Shiny folder. You can assume this is a database where there is the dynamic data from different sources. It should not necessarily be from sensors. Okay, so now we can run our Shiny app. It is this one. So if I run the app, as you can see, the temperature, this line chart is dynamic, so every time it is bringing in the new readings. And here I have the sensors with their locations and sensor IDs, and I want an alert if the temperature is greater than this threshold, 30, about 33, I think it is 33, or if the sensor fails. Let's check the code. Which one is this? In the UI.r, in the server.r, I mean. So if it is greater than 33, yeah. So if it is greater than 33, it will alert me. Okay, yeah. So the horizontal line is y is equal to 33. Y-intercept is 33 in that this dynamic plot. So as you can see, so far there is no any alert because there is no any abnormal reading based on our condition. By the way, we can specify any kind of condition. It can be a simple condition, or we can even use advanced machine learning and statistical analysis techniques like anomaly detection and forecasting. And based on the conditions we specify, we should get alerts. So as you see here, I don't have any alert in my Gmail, and I expect alerts when the sensor fails or when the reading goes beyond this threshold. So far, all sensors are reporting, because for the first 200 seconds, all the sensors, I'm generating data for all the sensors every 2 seconds. But after 200 seconds, one of the sensors will fail. So at that time, I should get an alert. As you can see, yeah, here we got we have a temperature value that hits the threshold, and because of that, I got an alert. Probably as you had an alert message in my phone, and also we expect another alert when the fourth sensor fails. Let's see when it will fail. Okay, so I had to restart my recording because I hit the time limit. So we expect another alert when one of the sensors fails. As you can see from my email here, I have got an alert that says there has been an abnormal reading, and now we expect another alert when this sensor stops sending data. So if we wait for a couple of 1 or 2 minutes, it will fade, and let's see if we can get an alert. Still all the sensors are reporting data, and all seem normal at this point except this one, and it is taking somewhat longer because I restarted my application because I couldn't record any longer at the same session. Yep, so this says sensor failed, and yeah, as you can see, this sensor, there is no the line for this one for sensor with sensor ID 400. There is no data coming in, and during this time when it just failed, we got an alert both to my phone and my email. We can also check my email. As you can see here, we have alerts for abnormal reading and also for the failed sensor. So basically what this shows is we can use Shiny for alerting based on any kind of statistical analysis to monitor dynamic dashboards. By the way, we can also use this if we have an R job that takes very long, let's say hours or days, then we can use this alerting technique so that it can alert us when our job completes. Yeah, so this is all for today. I will upload the code to GitHub and add the link as a comment section below this video, and thank you.